All right, not sure how I'm going to end up editing this, and this is absolutely part of the tag system, but this is a concept that I think needs to be addressed separately. Been doing a bit of these. Everything is going to wrap into the tag system, which, again, if you guys don't know what TAAG system is, whenever I say that, it's what I am dubbing this thing, this way to play the game that literally nobody seems to understand or has been able to come up against, and I'm getting all this like hate and stuff from all these people that are playing the game. It's insane. It genuinely is. I am struggling a lot to be able to explain this stuff, so I'm trying to break it down to the most simple things, so that way I can actually get to the video where I'm showcasing the gameplay within it, and it's as easy to understand as possible, but there's steps to it. I'm learning how to do this stuff as we go. I've never done this. I've never you know, spearheaded a way to play a game before. I don't even know how to like word it correctly. I'm talking to my buddies who got like thousands of hours in these games. Hell, I'm even talking to devs, and they're not even quite sure what I'm talking about. So the concept of just the economy is one of the most important things. And I've gone and actually made a scenario that you guys can do, and you guys can put this to practice without having to get your own game. And there'll be a second part to this video where you guys can go and check out how to do that scenario, and it's up on the workshop right now. But the concept still remains to be taught and to be understood, it seems. So the thing with the economy with this game is that you get 300 points per minute as the maximum amount of income that you can get at any point. You start with 1,000 points. That is it. Depending on how you spend those points, that takes away from your income. But the TLDR there is the more units, the less income. So there is a point in any given deck that you can bring enough units that your income will then become so low or nothing that you cannot buy any more. Where you can't buy any more units. So what does that point look like for your deck? And what does that look like game to game? That is very important, and that is the basis of that scenario. Now, of course, what comes into play is what happens to those units. When they die, you immediately get their impact to your income back. So let's say that a unit takes away 5 points per minute. It dies, you now get 5 points per minute, up to 300 points per minute. If you have no units in play, in 5 minutes, you will get an extra 1,500 points. So if you spend none of your starting points and then wait 5 minutes to then spend any points, you will then have 2,500 points to be able to play. You can buy entire tabs of units, but ideally you would want to be spread out. Get some infantry, get some IFVs with fire support, a couple tanks, a couple AA pieces, reconnaissance, you're good to go. That's something that I'll talk about more with the scenario portion of that. And that's something that you see in every single one of my games too, unless I'm like fast pushing. Definitely before all this tag system stuff came to fruition. So, you set up the front line, you have reconnaissance, you have holding, you have supply, you have AA, and you have a pushing force. You push through, all stuff I talked about in my Mechanized Warfare masterclass video. All very important, and all part of the tag system in its own way. But the fast pushing, which is really the heart, and the quote-unquote throwing away of units, is something that is just completely lost on everybody. That scenario that's linked below proves everything. And I don't even need to be there to do it. It's just the way that the game works. You can do it in a game, and you'll see what happens. So the concept of efficiency within the game is that of the cost and the utility of that unit. I got way too nerdy, and I had way too much time on my hands. So I spent way too much time in the scenario editor to break down literally every single vehicle, every single unit in this game. And I asked myself, What does this do? Does it kill infantry? Does it spot? Does it transport? Does it kill a tank? Or does it just kill vehicles? What does this thing do? And can it be supplemented by something else? And then what does that something else look like? Obviously, loads of things came to mind with every little thing. But when you actually take it into account and you actually put it to practice, there becomes kind of like this, just like this kind of narrow road that you can see, and that anybody can see, anybody, if they play the game this way. Where it's just like, oh shit, this is really good. It's just like, oh wait, this is really dominant. But because the score works the way that it works and the game works the way that it works, it's not that obvious. You really have to pay attention. You really have to think about like what it is that you were doing. So for instance, I had a couple of pro players. There's Broken Arrow pro players. As just like a thing that exists. And they were coming into my Discord the other day, and we had some great conversations, and then it kind of diluted into like insults and stuff from their end, and it was just very weird state of the community in general. Open to any way to play the game. It is a game at the end of the day. You guys do you. I'm addicted to it. I like being competitive. I like using strategy to outplay the people on the other side. It's what I find enjoyable. This strategy is fucking dominant, and it's the economy. Efficiency of a unit. What does a KA-52 do? Whether it's the alligator or the Catran. It has 30 armor. It flies fast. Can carry many different weapon systems. Has 25% ECM. And can see out to 2,400 meters. This is an amazingly efficient unit. Its weakness can get shot down. Then you throw away 200 points if you're using the rockets. What is important about the cost of that unit? 200 points. It'll be like 195 or something like that. Depends on what version, if you put the rockets on it. Not the ATGMs, not the seed missiles, not the cruise missiles, not any of that stuff. The rockets. Less than 200 points. When this is in play, that is an impact to your economy that when it is lost can be gotten back very quickly. So, throw it away. Impact to the income. I actually don't know. However, if it is then thrown away, if it's thrown to its death, that is 200 points, give or take, that is given to the kills of the enemy, and that you have now lost because you could have used it on infantry or a tank or whatever. If you go into it fully understanding what a unit like this can do for you and its absolute total capabilities, like that threshold, there's a word I'm looking for here. I'm blanking. Its total possibilities, the total capabilities of that unit. It is highly, highly, highly efficient when used a certain way. So, let's say that you're fighting over this part of the airport on Riga. This is 2400. Optics, has 30 armor, 25% ECM, and can fly. Fantastic reconnaissance unit for 200 points. Fantastic. Keep it back a little bit further. If there's helicopters coming up, we'll spot stealth planes a little bit further. Can move it out of the way if it starts to get shot down, because of course they're going to try and hit it with AA. Of course they are. So then that's when it becomes inefficient. If there's a lot of AA, if there's ways for it to get shot down, if they just want it dead, that's 200 points. And sure, if there was something coming up on you, you would have been able to see it. But what happens right before somebody pushes in to your location? Well, if they see a helicopter up, they're going to try to shoot it. So if it gets down, or if it pushes back, then it's no longer efficient, is it? And it's still taken away from your income. So when sitting here, spotting, very efficient, information, very good. Additionally, what happens when you just throw it away? I actually had one of the pro players DM me, not DM me, think it was like an insult. It was like in the chat, on the Broken Arrow chat on my Discord the other day, showing a screenshot of me throwing away 2 KA-52s when within the screenshot itself, it showed exactly what I wanted to happen. again, as I said, this is 30 armor, 25% ECM, fast, and has rockets. Can see out to 2400. Hopefully I remembered all that stuff. For 200 points. When you get this close to things, it's going to see it. That is information. Based off of that information, you can react to it and you can counter it. What do they have? Do they even have SHORAD? Which we'll get to in a second. Could they even shoot it down? That in and of itself is information. I can go this far. So do it. Push as far as you can. Maybe go take the objective. There's nothing there. Go do it. If there are things there, but it doesn't have SHORAD, you get to kill it. It has rockets. But what if there are things there and they do have SHORAD? Now you know where that SHORAD is. You know what it is. And you know how much there is for 200 points. And because it's got 30 armor, probably does some damage. You might even kill that SHORAD, whatever it is. And then they don't have the SHORAD, and guess what? Now you can bring up a second one. And now they got a problem. Another aspect, the speed. Because of the 30 armor, because of this 25% ECM, and its speed, sometimes you just fly right through. I've seen half a dozen Stingers miss. Even might get a couple shots from one of the Bradleys. 30 armor, you go right through. 25% ECM, no problem. Goodbye, Patriots. It's a mirror match. Goodbye, S-300s. Goodbye, artillery. If they do happen to get through, and usually the person leaves. That is a thing that can happen to anyone if you forget to bring SHORAD, or if you, as the player with this, do a good enough job figuring out, maybe this can get through. Maybe you duck it down. You make a play. That is called a play. If you buy this unit to do that, and then do it as quickly as possible, that is also as little as possible impact on your income to then be able to get it back. It's 200 points. If you have very few units, the closer you are to 300 points per minute. You wait a couple of minutes, you've got those points back. And because of what you've done, you now can use those points in the most effective way possible because you know what's out there. You are using this to gain information. And also, while you're doing it, yeah, I got shot down, but what did it take? How much SHORAD do they have there? Is it supplied? Did they have a lot? Maybe it just ran into a wall, in which case, you know what, fuck it, but you should be trying to probe. You should be trying to do this. You have points to spend. And if you do it on phase 1, you can do this 6 times. It doesn't fucking matter. The most that they're going to be able to do is they're going to get a 3-point advantage in phase 1. Something we'll talk about later in part of the tag system. It does not matter unless you make it matter. Go and get that information, do it as effectively as possible, have least impact on your income as possible, and take advantage of it. Something that at the surface seems like dude just threw away his fucking helicopter. Think past that. What did you see? What did they use? How do you counter it? And then you use the points perfectly. Amazingly efficient. Amazingly. Another topic. Just put this video up the other day. ATGMs and why I particularly don't like them or use them. In that video, if you didn't see it, I show you a tutorial, a actual use case of how to defeat ATGMs. Am I saying go and put those ATGMs in those buildings? No. Am I saying that I'm going to defeat every ATGM ever? No. All it was showing people how. So if you're a new player, go check that out. That's how you get through ATGMs, and especially when you're Russia, use smoke, you get through perfectly fine. If you need to get somewhere and there's ATGMs stopping you, don't worry. There is a way forward. And a lot of people think it's way more difficult than it actually is. However, not the topic for today. I'm just saying go check out that video if you haven't yet. Topic for today is the efficiency of that unit, which I didn't even get to with that other video. That is an expensive infantry unit. So, impact on the economy, because expensive. But it's infantry, so it could be, you know, it's generally speaking less, but, you know, 100 points or so, depending on the unit. That is going to sit somewhere and protect it, which means it stays as an impact on your income. So if you have a bunch of those and they're just sitting there, you're not getting points because they're in play. So that's less income. and they're just sitting there. What happens if they don't get pushed? You don't get the points. What happens if they get artillery? They don't shoot, so that's a complete waste. Oh, we'll move them. Okay. Now they're in the open. They're infantry. Inefficiency. Oh, they only got 6 rounds, by the way, too. 6 Humvees that brought up a bunch of infantry units. Ran up the road. Congratulations, you killed all the Humvees. I'm glad you got all those points. Guess what happens now? The Terminator behind it. Well, this is a Hornet. So the CEV behind it. Doesn't matter. Anything with a grenade launcher behind it kills it. Inefficient. I can go on. As I said before, what does this unit do? Kills vehicles. Tanks kill vehicles. Things with heavy autocannons, which you get as Russia, kill vehicles. Specifically, do you need to kill a tank? Okay, you need to bring a tank. What does it do? How does it do it? And what is the cost? Oh, well, you're going to get ATGM'd. It's not an infantry unit. You can't hide in a building. Does it matter? Does that situation matter? Because if it doesn't, then you need to do this. It is much more efficient. That is what I'm trying to explain. Also, I did find a way to play infantry that it really doesn't matter, but that's a subject for another day. That's part of the tag system. I actually just posted some gameplay of that too. But again, deeper topic, something for another day. The Sturm. Very deadly against vehicles, very deadly against tanks. No armor, no smoke. You can't hide. You can only shoot. Pair it with something that can. Or at least you can take a hit, rather, with the armor. And you can hide, because you have the 2 smokes. 150 points, 60 points. 210 points that will kill any vehicle in the game. It does not matter what it is. If you can do it. If you can, like, actually shoot. Obviously, if that tank has smoke, if it gets behind cover, that's a different story. But the concept here is put this in the position to be able to kill that thing, and it is going to kill that thing for 210 points. Oh, well, they're just going to send a helicopter after it. Okay, how much is the helicopter? 300 points? So twice. Hide behind the smoke, shoot down the helicopter. Oh, they're just going to send 3 tanks. Okay, how much are those tanks? 300 points a pop? That's 900 points. Do they have anything else? That's a lot of points in play. That's a lot of income taken away. What else do they have? Probably not much else. Efficiency. Oh, they're going to send a plane. It'll be quick and that's efficient. Not if it gets shot down. And hell, even if it kills it, that's a 300, maybe 400 point plane. Maybe even more. Depends on what it is. For 210 points? To kill 210 points worth of units? Which, oh, and by the way, is ammunition that's not being used on something else. Efficiency. Next topic. SAMs. Or rather, SHORAD. Pantsers, 250 points. What do they do? They shoot down helicopters. Lots of things shoot down helicopters. Depends on the situation. Open field? Yeah, it'd be pretty nice to be able to shoot out to that. RNG, though. And you got to keep the radar on. Grand scheme of things, you should probably keep that radar off, especially against good players, and you need to make sure it stays moving. And it's pretty expensive to do that. Cessnas, even Strellas, but, you know, mainly Cessnas. Amphibious, 160 points. Reach out to 2400. You don't need to worry about radar. That's an impact on... Oh, something that I haven't even talked about yet. I've only talked about in-game economy. You also have your deck economy. All of these have an impact to that tab for that deck. Spending points on this means you can't spend it elsewhere. On different kinds of transports, other kinds of infantry, other kinds of helicopters, transport helicopters, maybe ones with ATGMs rather than just the rockets. Other kinds of infantry that when put in the right position are going to do the job that you are trying to do no matter what. Oh, they have APS. It shoots fast enough, it'll get the second round through. Oh, and by the way, you send something else there that negates the APS. Or you send 2 of them, and it will get through. Efficiency. Oh, how are they getting there? Problem for another day, but, you know, obviously I've shown that plenty of times. And I even showed it in the that HEGM video too. Cheap transport, get them exactly where they need to go. Play the game to do it. And you put them in the best position possible to be as efficient as possible. And you're going to find success within that. Practice makes perfect, though. So it's going to be nice to take the deck that you've created or create new ones or just test units on your own, which is why I made the scenario. So to that portion. All right, not sure how I'm going to end up editing this video, but this is how it works. When you guys go to the link and you go to the Steam Workshop and you subscribe to this scenario, this will be what it looks like. When you go to the main menu of the game, you have this, you go to play, you go to scenarios, and your list will not look like this unless you've been making scenarios like I have. It will look like this, my workshop items. These are the 3 scenarios that I've made so far. If you guys would like to test your openers, if you want to see how your, how your deck does in the opener in terms of air, this is something that you can test against. It is multiple levels, so if you select easy, medium, or hard, it'll change the actual setup of, or the composition rather, of the enemy planes, whether you are against the US or whether you are against Russia. So those exist. I don't think I ever made videos about those, but those are in there. And then we've also got deck efficiency check. So there isn't even a tag label on this. So it's not like even associated with the tag system. It's just good to know, basically. But obviously very important for the tag system. So what you are going to be doing here is selecting this, and then you really need to pay attention to what deck you are using, and you can get kind of messy with this. You can get nerdy with this as well. Obviously, I have hundreds of decks, literally, all associated with whether or not I am playing the game with a group, whether I'm playing solo, or all this stuff where you see prac, P-R-A-C, that's practice stuff, that's also tag associated stuff, and you'll also see some of these 2K. 2,000 points is very important in the world of Broken Arrow. Your income is at most 300 points per minute. So if you wait for 5 minutes, that is 1,500 points. You start with 1,000 points. So whether you wait 5 minutes and then start the game with 2,500 points, or use 500-ish points of your opener and then float and then wait around, the math comes out to 2,000 points is a very efficient number, and that's stuff that we're going to be talking about in the tag system. That's stuff that we're going to be breaking down within the tag system. For now, though, or tag system video, rather, when I fully get into describing all of this in a way that people are actually going to understand and hope that they understand. I don't know. That's for another time. Regardless, 2,000 points is important, guys, but the fun with this is that it doesn't actually matter. You can do whatever you want, but the concept stays the same. And here I am getting distracted again. This is where you pick your fucking deck. It says, pick your deck. Doesn't matter what it is. The concept will stay the same in terms of understanding what your efficiency of that deck is. Now, that is not combat efficiency. This is economic efficiency. Combat efficiency depends on the units that you choose. That is definitely different than economic efficiency. So that's a different scenario in general. However, the units that are in this scenario can be killed. So you can kind of base your combat efficiency here as well if they end up killing all the units, but it's actually not the goal. So let's go ahead. I'm going to just pick my CEV deck, or you know what? No, I'm going to go to my Don't Care deck. I just posted a video about this. We're going to go Don't Care US, and we're going to play the scenario. There's no difficulty involved. You do not need to select anything else, and this is what's going to pop up. So again, the goal here, the thing that you guys should be paying attention to is, what is your income at any given time? So we're going to go at the spawn here, and what is very important here, because it is a scenario, you can speed it up. So what happens with your deck if you wait for 5 minutes? What happens if you don't spend any points at the beginning. Hell, maybe you wait 1 minute. 1 minute now just went by. I now have 1,300 points because you get 1,300 points per minute. And you continue to wait, you continue to wait. If I could increase the speed of this even more, I would. I would do it 10 times if I wanted to, or if you could. And of course, you guys can go into the scenario editor and you can make it, your income is like doubled or tripled or something like that, but I wanted it to remain realistic. So coming up on the 2.5, or rather we passed the 2.5, and now I'm coming up on 2,000. So realistically, and that is exactly on time there, what is that? Those are the planes, the enemy planes that were flying. And the reason why that time is important is because that is the absolute average fuel limitation of planes. Now, of course, you can have planes with more fuel tanks if they happen to have fuel tanks. You can have planes with less fuel tanks. You can have people that just wanted to bring their planes back earlier. There's no way of knowing that. But that point is extremely important because it is very unlikely that there's going to be a bunch of planes up. Very important. Now, you as a player, in your game, with your friends, ideally, and definitely in Discord, ideally, of course, you put a plane up, you see. You go and see if there's some planes up. You can do that if you want, but then again, you're wasting time. The key thing here is, if you are able to be on the ground and hold a point, the game is going to continue. So if there's 5 people on a team, and even just one person spends their opener to make sure that they go and hold that point so that the game does not end yet, and then the 4 others are now sitting with twice the amount of points that you start with, twice, who do you think is going to come out on top with that very first, that initial engagement as things start to float in? That's one of the core concepts. That is one of the most important things that I'm trying to teach people, even on one of the very first basic concepts of an idea of a thing that I had with Broken Arrow, which is floating points. A lot of people accidentally float points. Hell, I do all the time. If I am trying to buy things, I do forget, oh, you know what? I got an extra 500 there. I only wanted to save to 2,000. Or I got an extra 500 there. I only wanted to save to 500. Whatever the situation might be. If you're not throwing your units away, if you're hard pushing, which is another tag topic, another tag system topic. So what is important here is almost none of the game has actually started other than the opener at this point. We are 3.5 minutes into the game, or rather 4.5 minutes. No, 3.5. I'm an idiot. Games are 45 minutes. We're 3.5 minutes into the game. If there were planes that were sitting there, they shouldn't be there anymore. They should either be out of fuel or they should be refunded. That's an important thing to understand. 3.5 minutes. And because you haven't bought units, you now have 2,000 points. So what does that look like with your deck? Let's just see. Let's buy a bunch of ground stuff. Let's see what 2,000 points worth of units looks like. And we can put troops in those too. Actually, put a whole bunch of troops because those are ACVs. Let's grab the... Actually, no. We'll go back over here. Grab a couple of these. And that's probably... We probably can't bring anybody else. Huh? Oh, we can't be there 4 squads, so we're good. Let's do 2 6s. Bop, bop. And then... Insufficient funds. We got 80. You got 80 around here somewhere. Right, we'll just put you on the ground. And then hit play. That is 2,000 points worth of stuff. Notice what happened to your income. It went down, right? But it's not 0. You still sustain your income. So as you stay alive, as your units get into the fight, as they get hurt, as they use ammunition, they're going to need supply, right? Bring in the supply. Chances are a few of these guys have died. So let's just go see what that looks like. What happens if a few of them have died, but the rest, generally speaking, yeah, you're doing all right. You're doing all right. You're holding your ground. Resources sustain. I got 700 points. Maybe I buy a plane. Go see if I can bomb something. Alright, maybe you killed it, maybe you didn't. Doesn't really matter. That's the points being spent. That's the economy doing its thing. Alright, still got about 700 points. Got some units. I think I can pretty much hold some ground. But I decided to bring way too many tanks. Maybe I had to bring some AA. Let's see what some AA looks like. At this point in the game. 36 minutes. Alright, maybe that's not gonna go so well. I don't have any transports left. I made a mistake there. Efficiency. Maybe I don't buy those next time. Maybe I buy some more cheaper transports instead. Maybe I bring some of these guys. Again, tactically speaking, this isn't like real. Hopefully you guys are getting the point there. This is just me trying to make a point. So obviously this composition isn't set up. You don't have the great AA, and you know this deck is this deck. The whole point is you buy the units that you think you would buy given the situation, and then see how it affects your economy. And then if at any point you're curious what it looks like if they just all died, you have a direct, what's it called? Answer or feedback of what the point of the game looks like. Or what that point of the game looks like and your impact on it. Or rather, not your impact on it, but its impact on your economy. So I guess maybe the game's impact on you. The enemy team's impact on you. And I still got a unit left over there. But what is a lesson here that I was trying to show, given the time that I decided to use there, is you'd notice that that is the very end of phase 1. Which means if you threw all of those units away, doesn't matter if literally every single point that you had was thrown away. The enemy team gets 3 points. Now you have 15 minutes to do something with the information that you just gained. And then with that, gets us into the tag system, but not the topic for today. The topic for today is just explaining this scenario and what you can do to understand the efficiency of your deck, not the combat efficiency of the units, not are they good, are they bad, but understanding what you can do with the economy with your deck. I have coming up on 3,000 points in the middle of phase 2 here, so we're going to slow it down once it hits 3. $3,000 points. You know what? Let's just see what happens with the helicopters. Oh, turns out I could literally buy my entire helicopter tab for 2,400 or 2,300 points. I actually didn't know that was the full composition, even though we should know that, because when you go and you make your deck, it says 2,300. But it's just a number that doesn't really stick with you after you go and make your deck. But now I understand it. And now I know what that actually looks like because I can put it into practice. So, play it. $2,300 points of helicopters. Goes down to 2,300, or rather 231 points per minute. Oh, that's weird. I just brought a lot of helicopters and they seem to be killing a lot of stuff. Wow, that's 4 Pantsers. Wow, those guys made it pretty far. I did throw away a lot of points, but it seems like that blob did pretty well. I wonder what we could do with that blob. I wonder what else we could do with that amount of units. I wonder how much ammunition the enemy just used in order to take those down. You know what would be really cool is if I actually coordinated with a teammate while I was doing that, they brought a bunch of ASFs. So the planes that were out there that were there to try and kill the helicopters that got through their line, what if they got shot down? Because my buddy was on point with his planes. And while that was happening, because there's 3 other people in the game, what if I had another buddy that was pushing on the front line with tanks? And then the player that was their airborne player, or the player that had those Su-24s or those F-15s or whatever it might be against whoever you're playing against, what if they didn't have the points to buy those Su-24s or the Su-34 or those F-15s or whatever the situation might be to have the best counter to a tank push or an IFV push? What if those helicopters got through and killed their entire SAM net? What if we have air superiority now? This is the kind of stuff that I was thinking about week 1. This is the kind of stuff that I put into practice with scenarios, testing these units, testing these weapon systems. It's some nerd shit. Anyone has seen Moneyball? That's kind of like where this goes. Break every unit down to what does it actually do. And you sit here for 20 minutes and you get to see what this actually looks like. What your effect on the game can be. What the impact of having those points as quickly as you get them can be. Don't just look at your KD. Don't just look at how many units you have in play. Think outside the box. Think about what you could do. Think about what the enemy will need to spend. Think about what the enemy will need to do in order to counter whatever it is that you are bringing to the fight. And just bare minimum, just see what it looks like. Just see with those units in play as long as they are, and you make sure that you keep up with the supply. What does that look like income-wise for you? The efficiency, the economic efficiency of your deck. Other setup over here is this line of tanks is going to be the closest right here. This is the second closest over here because of the roads that you have to take. And also the vision will be better. So this is more of like or rather these tanks are right here, sorry. So vision's going to be different too. You have a close quarters, quick engagement to see what that looks like. And then you have a longer distance. You're probably going to die over here. And then over here, there's a third line of tanks over here. I'll cut to the edited version to show you that. So this is the editor version, not the edited version. This is the editor version of this scenario. So you can just throw planes away if you need to. You can throw helicopters away if you need to. You can check out the timing. You can check out the efficiency. And at the end of the day, you can also check lethality if you want to. Because what I'm going to do also is I'm going to put up a patch before this video goes up. I'm going to give these infinite fuel, but not... Infinite fuel and infinite ammo, but not immortal. I'm going to take away the immortal on these. Except for the Sentinel. Let's keep the Sentinel up, because that's going to help for that stuff. If you guys know of what you can do to have things be invisible, like for instance, I just want the impact. I just want the what's it called? The utility of these Sentinels for the AI that are waiting to kill you. Like have the Sentinel spot stuff, but ideally you don't target them and you don't waste your ammunition if you're trying to check those planes out. So quick edit there. Infinite fuel, immortal on the Sentinels. Infinite fuel, immortal on the Sentinels. Can also check your spot range. There's a lot of things that you can do with this scenario when you just think about it. Like you can makeshift turn this into quite a lot of things. And of course you can do Russia v Russia if you want. I'm not going to make a US version of this. It's just not one of those things. But that's what it looks like. You've got your close distance here. It's also the amount of time involved with the travel, taking these roads, the travel of the helicopters getting to the front line, the travel of the planes getting to the front line, getting to the fight. Think about the efficiency of it all. If you end up losing a plane, those are points taken away. But also comes back to your income quicker. Spend 1,000 points on ground units. And they die very quickly. Well, what did they do while they were dying? How much ammunition did they get the enemy to use? Of course. What kills did they get? What did the enemy use to stop them? Did they use planes? Did they use artillery? Did they use tanks? It all comes back to the tag system. Phase 1, at the absolute most, the enemy is going to have a 3-point advantage on you if you throw every single one of your units away. If you do that, and you just hold on to a point, the game will continue. And then using the information that you gained in phase 1, you build in phase 2. And then in phase 3, you win the game. Not many people, if any, are thinking of this game like that. Again, goes back to the tag system, and that's really what we put to the test. So that is the breakdown of this scenario. Use it as you will. Check the efficiency of your deck, and maybe try something new. Maybe you'll like what you find. The gameplay that you get with like mechanized warfare and keeping your units alive is very cool too. That's a lot of fun as well. Not saying you need to do it any other way. I'm saying that this is a game at the end of the day. Play the way that you want to play, and if you want to learn something or you want to change some things up, this tool, this scenario is going to allow you to do that. So hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice day. See you guys.